Chapter 4. The Legend of Jessie May. Jessie May was my grandmother. She was also the woman who killed a man because he dropped me. Those two truths lived side by side my whole life, and nobody in my family ever tried to separate them. Nobody pretended one canceled the other out. We carried both the way you carry a scar and still call it skin. That was Jessie May. Nothing about her came in halves. When she drank, she was terrifying. There is no softer way to say it. Men feared her. Women feared her. Even people with names in the streets learned to move around her instead of through her. Her presence alone could quiet a room. Voices dropped. Jokes died halfway out of people's mouths. You could feel folks correcting themselves before they even knew why. Her voice carried authority. Her rage carried consequences. Everybody knew it. It was not just volume. It was certainty. It was the way she stood, like she had no doubt about herself at all. Her eyes would lock on you like a decision had already been made. Her chin lifted a little. Her jaw set. When Jessie May was drinking, she did not argue. She declared. She moved like the world owed her room, and if it did not make space fast enough, she took it. Her longtime boyfriend, Mr. Joe, knew that version of her better than most. Mr. Joe was about 6'4" or 6'5", tall and slim and good-looking, the kind of man who should have been able to hold his own in any room. But when Jessie May was drinking, size did not matter. She cursed him out, started fights with him, ran him out of the apartment like he was a stranger who had overstayed his welcome instead of the man who loved her. He took it. He came back. He took it again. When she was sober, I imagined things were different between them, but what I saw as a child was the drinking version, and in the drinking version, Mr. Joe was always on his way out the door with Jessie May's voice following him down the hall. He was always good to me. That is what I remember most clearly. Whatever she put him through, he never let it land on the children. He was gentle with us in a house where gentleness was not always the default setting. As kids, we said she turned into the devil. We did not say that for drama. We said it because we did not have another word for that kind of change. Drinking flipped something in her. The warmth disappeared. The patience burned off. What remained was force without breaks. You could love her and still be scared of her. In my family, that was normal. Then there was the other Jessie May. Sober. Jessie May laughed from deep in her body. Not a neat laugh, not a polite one. A laugh that opened her chest and pulled other laughter out of the room. She cooked all the time because feeding people was her first language. She touched you when she spoke, a hand on your cheek, a squeeze on your shoulder, fingers pressing into your arm like she wanted to make sure you were really there. Her hugs were never halfway. They were full body, pull you all the way in hugs that said, I got you. That version of her loved hard and without hesitation. On Thanksgiving Day, my mother went into labor in Jessie May's kitchen while carrying my sister Tanya. I still remember the urgency of that moment. The women moved together fast. Nobody froze. Nobody asked what to do. Jessie May was in charge before the panic could even form. She directed traffic, grabbed coats, got my mother out the door, and got her moving toward the hospital. There was no confusion in her, only action. That was love too. Not soft love, not sentimental love. Love that moved. Both versions were real. Growing up under both taught me something early. People do not fit cleanly inside one label. Love can come wrapped in something dangerous. Devotion and destruction can live in the same body. Tenderness and fear can answer to the same name. Jessie May had been a Black Panther. She believed Black people needed more than prayer and patience. They needed knowledge, discipline, pride, and the nerve to defend what was theirs. She taught us the names of African kings the way some people teach scripture. She kept those posters around the house, regal Black faces in crowns and robes, and she pointed to them with pride. Mansa Musa, men of wealth, reach, and power. Men whose names had survived everything history tried to bury. She wanted us to know that our story did not begin in the projects. It did not begin with lack. It did not begin with struggle. It began with greatness. She raised two daughters, my mother Regina and my Aunt Lynette. She was hard on them, extremely hard. Discipline came heavy. Expectations were unforgiving. Mistakes were not met with softness. That hardness did not come out of nowhere. From what I understood, Jessie May had been raped as a young woman. She had been taken advantage of, and something in her decided that if the world was going to be cruel to girls, then the girls she raised would not be soft enough to be easy prey. She believed women had to be hard to survive, so she forged them that way, even when it hurt. But I believe something else lived inside that hardness too. Something nobody in my family talked about directly, but everybody could see. Jessie May was dark-skinned. Lynette was light, beautiful. The kind of light-skinned beautiful that drew men's eyes in the projects and kept them there. In black communities in those years, colorism was not a theory people studied. It was air people breathed. Light skin opened doors. Light skin got compliments from strangers. Light skin got a kind of attention that dark skin had to fight for or go without. Jessie May had spent her whole life dark-skinned and hard in a world that rewarded neither, and now her own daughter moved through that same world wearing the thing Jessie May had never been given. I do not believe she hated Lynette for it, but I believe the resentment found its way into the beatings, into the belts, into the extension cords that came out when the whiskey was deep enough to dissolve whatever restraint she had left. With Lynette, the forging broke something. They fought constantly, not arguments, fights, the kind that fill a house with noise that makes children disappear into corners. Jessie May beat her with belts and extension cords, especially when she was drinking. The blows landed harder than discipline required, and more often than correction demanded. Jessie May kicked Lynette out while she was still young, still a teenager, still somebody's child even if nobody in the house was treating her like one. Lynette got her own place in the projects. She gave birth to my cousin Niecy at 15. I suspect the pregnancy may have been one of the reasons Jessie May put her out, though the full truth of that belongs to them. What I know is that a teenage girl was on her own in Richard Allen with a baby, and the woman who was supposed to protect her had decided that hardness meant distance. Lynette grew up into a softer version of Jessie May, but no less strong. She was a protector by instinct, especially when it came to her baby sister, my mother Regina. If somebody disrespected one of hers, Lynette was the kind to throw the first punch and ask questions later. I saw that side of her through my childhood. Men in the projects learned not to mistake her size or femininity for weakness. Jessie May had built that into her whether Lynette wanted it or not, and despite everything, Lynette kept a relationship with Jessie May. Through all the abuse, all the drama, all the years of damage, she never fully closed the door. That told me something about Lynette that I did not understand until I was much older. Some people forgive not because the wound heals, but because the love underneath it refuses to die. But the cycle did not stop with Lynette. It reached down into the next generation. What stays vivid in my mind is Niecy. I was young, too young to understand the full shape of the drama moving through that family, but I understood what I saw. Jessie May hit Niecy, beat her with the same belts and cords she had used on Lynette. The same force, the same pattern, aimed at another light-skinned girl too beautiful for her own safety in the projects. I do not know if Jessie May saw Lynette when she looked at Niecy. I do not know if she saw the man who would come for that beauty and wanted to beat the softness out of her before they could. I only know what I witnessed. Niecy screaming and running out of the house. That image never left me. A girl running from the woman who was supposed to be her grandmother, her protector, her shelter. Running into Richard Allen like the streets was safer than the living room. Niecy was my cousin, but she felt like my sister. I loved her. She was beautiful, one of the prettiest girls in the projects. And that kind of beauty in a place like Richard Allen draws attention that a young girl should never have to navigate alone. Eventually, Niecy and Lynette's relationship broke down too. The same pressure that had shattered things between Jessie May and Lynette repeated itself one generation later, mother and daughter tearing apart along the same fault lines. Niecy was put out or chose to leave. I do not know which, and maybe she does not either. What I know is she was on her own on the mean streets of Philadelphia, while she was still young enough that somebody should have been holding the door open for her instead of closing it. She got hooked on drugs, she sold drugs, she got caught transporting for dealers. The details are hers to tell fully, and she has told them. But I watched it happen from close enough to know that the hardness Jessie May believed would protect her girls did not protect them. It sent them out into the world with armor where softness should have been. And the world found the cracks anyway. But Niecy survived. She paid her debts. She rebuilt herself from a place most people never come back from. She is a published author now, living her best life. And if you need proof that destruction is not the final word in this family, she is that proof. The same bloodline that produced Jessie May's violence also produced Niecy's resurrection. That matters more than I can say. Niecy never got the chance Lynette had. Lynette kept that door open with Jessie May for decades and was standing near it when the change finally came. Niecy was still young, still out in the world, still trying to survive the damage. Jessie May died in her 50s. That is not old enough for a grandmother to finish making things right. It is barely old enough to start. With boys, it was different. I was her oldest grandson, and Jessie May made that clear every chance she got. She said my name like it meant something. She bragged on me publicly and loudly. If somebody corrected me, she corrected them back. If somebody came at me too hard, she stepped in like a wall. When I got into college, she lit up like it was her own victory. Her love for me was never subtle. It had volume. She loved Big Curt too. That mattered because Jessie May did not hand out approval easy. My mother was 17 when she had me. Big Curt was 19. They were kids themselves. But Jessie May saw something in him she respected. He was sharp, respectful, put together, and carried himself like a man even when he was still young. She adored him, and once Jessie May opened her heart to somebody, that judgment ran deep too. She trusted her own read on people more than she trusted applause, status, or public opinion. Once she reached a conclusion about somebody, she stood in it. She did not need consensus. She did not need permission. Richard Allen had trained her to read the face behind the face, the smile behind the smile. She trusted that instinct all the way down. She had a reputation in Richard Allen without ever needing a title. Her name moved through those courtyards and stairwells on its own. She ran a quiet speakeasy out of her apartment. No sign, no advertisement. People knocked a certain way. She opened the door just enough to read you. Money changed hands. A drink got poured. Sometimes she waved you in. Sometimes she sent you away. She cooked and sold full meals too. Real food, grease popping, seasoning thick in the air. Her living room could become a party in 15 minutes or a fight in 10 seconds. I remember one night standing in her kitchen doorway, maybe 4 years old, watching her work the room from the stove. She had a plate in one hand and a cigarette in the other, talking to 3 people at once without raising her voice. A man at the table owed her money, and she collected it with a look. A woman near the door started getting loud, and Jessie May cut her quiet with 2 words I could not hear from where I stood. Then she turned back to the skillet like nothing had happened. The whole apartment was hers. Every corner of it answered to her. I did not understand power yet, but I understood that room, and I understood that she was the reason it held together. That was my first classroom. And yes, that is where the story everybody knew about me began. A man picked me up. Jessie May warned him. He ignored her. He dropped me. She killed him. That story entered the family the way certain stories do, in blood and heat and consequence. What mattered after that was what it became. It followed me my whole life. Nobody in my family treated it like rumor. Nobody denied it. Nobody prettied it up. Jessie May herself spoke about it plainly. The police came. She was arrested. She went to jail. Over the years, I heard different versions of what the system called it. Charges reduced, self-defense, manslaughter. Family stories shift at the edges depending on who is telling them, but the center never changed. Jessie May came home, and when she walked back into Richard Allen, the story did not fade. It grew. Her warnings stopped sounding like suggestions. They sounded like law. Adults changed their tone around her. People who might have tested somebody else did not test her. She had crossed a line that changed how the neighborhood understood her, and some lines, once crossed, never uncrossed. She helped raise me, not gently, but constantly. I watched how grown people changed their posture when she entered a room. I watched how reputation worked like a shield. I learned early that protection could be absolute, and that fear and safety could sometimes come wearing the same face. Jessie may cause damage too. That belongs in the story just as much as her love does. Her drinking hurt people. Her violence scarred them. Her unpredictability left marks on the family. Love and destruction lived in the same body. She was my grandmother. She was a killer. She was both. As I got older, something shifted inside me. For a long time, I tried to separate the angel from the demon. I tried to save the good Jessie May in my mind and blame everything else on the bottle. But eventually, I got tired of doing that work. Over time, I stopped seeing two Jessie Mays and started seeing one, and I did not like what I saw. I turned on her in my heart, not because I was cruel, because there was too much damage attached to her name, too many stories, too many memories of fear, too many moments when her love could turn sharp without warning. By the time I left for college, I had already reached a verdict. In my mind, I had closed the case on her. So when people back home started saying Jessie May had changed, I did not believe them. They said she had stopped drinking. They said she was calmer, clearer, softer, more at peace. I figured it was nostalgia doing what nostalgia does, polishing rough people into saints. I thought folks were rewriting her because enough time had passed. Then she started calling me. At first, I ignored the phone. I let it ring, let it go to voicemail. Told myself I was protecting my peace. Told myself distance was wisdom. But the calls kept coming. When I finally answered, the voice on the other end did not sound like the Jessie May I had braced for. It was not hard. It was not edged with force. It did not come carrying the old electricity. It sounded like a loving grandmother, soft, present, gentle. That shook me more than anger would have. I still did not trust it. She asked if I was coming home for Thanksgiving. I told her no. I was cold, distant, measured. She did not snap at me. She did not guilt me. She just said she hoped she would see me for Christmas. Jessie May died that same Thanksgiving day. When the news reached me, I was shocked. My heart dropped. I even teared up because for all her flaws, the one thing I knew for certain was that she loved me. Then another feeling came right behind the grief. Anger, not at her, at myself. I was angry that I had judged her so hard. Angry that I had locked my heart around an old version of her and refused to open it long enough to see whether the change people talked about was real. Angry that by the time I was ready to ask better questions, the answers were already gone. I started calling family and asking what I should have asked while she was still alive. And that is when the truth landed. Her change had been real, not performative, not temporary, not family myth. Real. She had stopped drinking, really stopped. She had undergone a transformation, and I was the one who refused to witness it. The woman I had sentenced in my heart had done the one thing I never believed she could do. She had changed, and I missed it. That is the wound. Not just that I lost her, that I lost the chance to see who she became when the bottle was gone. The legend of Jessie May never left me. It lived in the way I carried myself, in the way I protected what was mine, in the way I understood that love can come wearing hard hands and a sharp mouth, in the way I learned that some people survive by making sure nobody forgets what they are capable of. But the last thing Jessie May taught me was quieter than all of that. Even the people you think you know best can change. And if your heart stays locked too long, you can miss the miracle while it is still alive.